Hello, friend. This is Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and this is Connor.
Hey guys.
We're going to talk about Mr. Robot Season 2, Episode 5. It's called EPS 2.3 underscore Logic Bomb dot HC. Any idea what HC is?
Nope.
Yeah, not a clue. Full spoilers, as always, for our reviews, so you've been warned. What an interesting episode. I was enjoying it, right? And it was doing a lot of interesting things. And then the last 10 minutes, just like, someone walked in and went, you know what, see those dials? Did they go up to 11?
Do
Because,
you know what I was thinking? I was like, I really like this episode. This might be better than last week's episode. Is kind of what I was thinking. And then it gets to that point. I'm like, nope, this is better.
yeah, let's begin with this one. So, I think I'll start with Angela. I want to talk about Angela.
Angela was by far the most interested she's been all season.
I completely agree with that. I was thinking the exact same thing. From a couple of different reasons, I think. I think she, up until this point, like, most of her stuff is mostly been there so that she has something to do, so she's just, like, in there. Like, I feel like you could almost delete most of it, but then she's missing for, like, 4 episodes, really, for the most part.
Yeah, you just gotta have something to kind of check in with her almost.
So it's been very, like, just her personal stuff or her, like, own self-esteem problems without really connecting to anything else. And as part of that, she also wasn't interacting with anyone else, like, on the main cast.
Yeah.
You know, other than, obviously, Philip, who runs Evil Corp. But, and I think that was damaging her, because in this episode, she's brought into the, like, see when she walks into her house and Darlene's sitting there, I'm like, okay, right.
The real shit's starting now.
Yeah. Things are getting real. So right away it was interesting just because she was involved in the plot. I liked that they brought up her boyfriend from last season, the CD. He's a smarmy prick, by the way. It's cheeky trying to record the conversation.
It was, when he says it just kind of throws it out so, like, dirty casually.
Yeah.
And she's like, nope, not having it.
Yeah, I can see through you, scumbag. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting scene, and that was like that made her more involved in the plot. But then she goes to see Elliot. And this was a very interesting scene. We'll talk about Darlene seeing him again in a little bit, but her seeing him, it was really nice to see them interact together.
Yep.
Because she was very much the heart of season 1 in a lot of ways, because she was his...
She anchored him to reality.
Yeah. And even though the first little bit of this is them just talking about the FBI and the hack and whatever... Once it gets towards the end of the scene and they just start talking about his fish, which, by the way, you get a cookie. You were right about her having his fish.
It's rare. Rare you giving me credit.
Yeah, you get a cookie. Because you called that exactly. So, fair play. But, yeah, see when they bring up the fish and they start smiling and laughing about it, I'm like, oh man, like, this is actually really sweet. Like, this is really good. Like, I'm feeling things. I'm happy for them.
I am as well. It's all the more bittersweet where I'm more convinced than ever that Elliot's there against his will.
Yes, even though I was paying very good attention in these scenes that have been, like, ever since this theory's been going around, but one thing I noticed in the Darlene scene, when Darlene come to see him to talk about, she referred to the mother, but she didn't say mother, she said, where's the evil...
She-devil.
She-devil, there we go, that was the phrase.
I know, it's because last week we specifically pointed out she didn't reference the mother at all, and we thought it was really weird. Whereas this, it's still... I mean, it could just be a guard, but then why was there no guard there?
I don't think... I'm thinking it's more his... well, not his actual therapist, because we know her, but I feel like it's a nurse or someone that usually is there.
It could be.
And she's the she-devil. Maybe that's just a reference to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, if you've seen that movie. There's an evil nurse in that, or at least she seems evil to the patients.
Right.
And, that's what I immediately thought of when she called her that. Not that she was ever called that in that movie specifically, but that idea was what I immediately thought of. But no, that was a really sweet scene between Elliot and Angela. Like, I was feeling things, and her being more into it, and then her cliffhanger when she actually joins F Society. I mean, I don't know if she's like joining permanently, but when she walks in and it's like the OG F Society from last season,
she's been brought into the fold.
And she's in that team now, at least for this next bit. And she's going to be in like this, not heist, but this, planting of thing in the FBI floor.
The moment I really loved was during the Elliot scene with her, and she's talking about it, and she goes, I waited to decide until I came to see you because I wouldn't do it unless you knew it was like unless you fully believed in
Hmm.
it. And even though he's trying to convince her not to do it, she can see
That he does
that he
believe he
does
can do it.
believe that
Yeah.
it would work. Yeah.
Yeah, she trusts him with this, despite whatever craziness is going on. In fact, another moment I really loved in that is the when she asks him, or when he's explaining why he didn't see her, why he's been refusing to talk to her. He's like, I didn't want to talk to you again until I stopped seeing him. And she says, well, how is that going? And he just blatantly says, my dead father's standing behind you right now.
It's when she looks around and it cuts to her perspective of him not being there.
Well, that's the thing. He wasn't there in the first place, but as soon as he says that, you see a shot of him standing there, and then it turns to that wide shot where she proper turns around and he's not there.
Yeah.
But
Because we'd been seeing him behind him in that? Or was that in the Darlene scene?
I don't. Yeah, it was very. All the scenes they've done, like he's been there and he's not been there. He's popped in and out, it varies. But that was, and I was thinking at the time, you know what? Even if you're Angela and you're sitting there and you know he's crazy and you know what this is, you would still turn around.
You have to, don't you?
You'd still look.
You have to double check.
You'd still look. You still would. Anyone who says they wouldn't is lying, blatant lies. But no, Angela was really interesting in this episode, so that was a really, really big plus from previous episodes this season. Because I like her character, she just hasn't had the greatest stuff to do.
She's just not had anything to do up till this point, really, which is a shame because she was kind of important in season one, even to the plot, as we learned in this, like the CD coming back up. She was very important in that regard.
So yeah, it was nice to see her sort of utilise more and actually be a part of things, and it was exciting seeing her go to the F Society people.
Definitely.
And seeing her and Darlene talk again, you know, in this new world where we know all these things, that they were friends, and you know, so so that's good. Now let's talk about FBI lady. Let's talk about her subplot of this episode. FBI lady Dom, and I don't know her name. I just like calling her FBI lady, cause. And she investigating stuff to go back to, was it Steel Mountain, the place that
they've renamed it Steel Valley.
Yeah, it's kind of like they had that really low in the audio under the music, as if it's like only something like, you might hear this casually, but it's not.
Was Steel Valley not like the real place that it's based on? There was something. It was Steel something still because it was based on like a real place.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Valley was the real place.
I can't remember.
I have to check. But yeah, they were rebranding.
Yeah, rebranding. And this also coincides with our boss, like, right, okay, we're going to China because we believe the Dark Army, which we've been known about since season 1, may have been involved in all of this. And obviously we also knew that the backup servers and all that were all in China. So as soon as they say they're going to China, I'm like, we're going to see White Rose, aren't we?
Yeah.
He's going to be there.
There'd be no point in going to China and not having that link in this show. It would be a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, but the question I had in my head was, okay, which version of him are we going to see?
That was the good question. I think it was very interesting because we learn about this other side of him.
Yeah, because obviously the only time we'd seen his, well, quote unquote male side is in that little scene at the end of season 1. You know, it's mostly been the female version of him we've seen, and I love the scene where they first arrive and they go into the dinner table, sort of, what's this, an office table. It's a conference room, but you know, it's like a big dinner table kind of thing. And the CIA guy or the FBI guy is like asking all these questions, and they're just sort of like, yes, you have access, yes. And BD Wong's just being BD Wong, and then Dom interrupts. Now, if this was taken out of context and I had just seen this scene in a vacuum on its own, I would swear BD Wong's character was sexist as hell. Because when she interrupts and asks him a question about the Dark Army, the look in his face is like, did this woman just speak?
Yeah. I think it's less like you're not high enough in the rankings to dare address me like this.
But I think she was like the only woman in the room, or at least, you know, the only one sort of in the main part of the table.
She might have been.
So it just really it stood out to me. He's like, out of context, this would look really sexist to me. He's like,
yeah. I get you.
And not even just that, the way every other man in the room goes quiet, like, oh my god, something awkward just happened. Like, whoa.
Yeah, see, I don't think any of it was intended to be.
Oh no, I don't think so either. It was just something that crossed my mind.
Because this White Rose's male part, what's his rank? Like, he has a title.
They say it later on in the episode. He is the chief of like international security or something like that.
It's pretty high up in the government then, yeah.
It is. So the fact that he is, we know White Rose is connected to the Dark Army, so that's a really interesting double life he's leading. You know, no pun intended, given the the gender swapping that he seems to be doing on a regular basis. But the more interesting scene with him was later on when they had like everyone over at his house for a gala, and Dom goes snooping, claiming to look for the bathroom, but I'm pretty sure she was snooping.
She was definitely snooping.
She was up to no good. And she finds all of his clocks. It's like the goddamn opening scene from Back to the Future when she walks in there and it's just clocks all over the place. Which is interesting because, as we know from Season 1, Back to the Future Part 2 is Elliot's favourite film. And this is key.
I'm not sure that was intentional to this.
Well, no, see, I actually think something I'm about to say is kind of intentional in a weird way to that. Because he gets close to her and he sort of reveals a few things about himself, and he asks her a bunch of questions, how she like was proposed to, and she like ran out of the restaurant, like, and didn't, you know, and she ended up with the FBI and all that, and she made it feel he made her like feel like they were getting kind of close in a weird way, like they were sort of like letting each other know personal things. And he even like kind of lets his secret out, like he takes her into this room with all the dresses and claims that it's his sister, even knowing full well that being someone in the FBI could easily find out that he doesn't actually have a sister.
Yeah, it would be public record.
Yeah. Even if you're not a politician, it's not that hard to find out if someone's got a sibling. It's, you know, it's not.
No, especially when it's someone who is that famous, like in a Chinese government situation.
And I'll get to what I think about that specifically after I say my first thing. He talks a lot about alternate realities here, alternate universes and timelines, and I think this is very interesting because I think he's living out too. Like, even though... I don't think there's actually science fiction in the show.
Yeah, there's no literal option.
Yeah, but I think he's living out too. Like, that's the whole, like, being a man in one life where he's, like, this government guy, and being a woman in this other life where he's, like, the head of this dark army. Like, I think he's living out two alternate realities. And for me, I actually did think about Back to the Future Part 2, because that movie is about an alternate timeline. So...
Well, maybe it was intentional then.
So I don't know. I that occurred to me because that was something that was definitely brought up. But to hit the other thing I was getting at though, him like being personal with her, this linked to Joanna's story for me.
Yeah, I get that.
Because her whole thing about letting the guy realise why he's being killed while he's being killed, so he doesn't just die not knowing, and paying respect to them even though you're killing them. To me, that's what he was doing here. He was
her understand before the...
Yeah, like he was like getting all this information and he was respecting her by learning about her and, you know, letting her into some personal information because he knew, and this is of course me assuming, but I think it's fairly likely that the following shootout that happens is a result of him and the Dark Army.
Do you know what? When that scene like starts, when it just transitions into that, that's the moment where I was like, yep, this is better than the last episode. Because it's so visceral, those first gunshots from off screen. And the woman next to her, was a woman? Yeah, woman next to her.
And do you know what I really liked about that scene is that it comes out of nowhere. You do not see it coming at all. It just starts. The woman is actually mid swallowing like a bit of food that she was eating, which just adds to that sense of this just hit out of nowhere. Once it starts as well, the camera keeps one shot. It never cuts.
And it's all just on her.
It follows Dom behind the counter. We see her go out, take a shot, follows her back behind it. And then we see the guy commit suicide rather than like potentially be caught. Like that's how dedicated to the cause he is.
Yeah.
And it was really visceral and really like
fantastically directed.
Yeah. Exceptional.
Yeah, it was.
And out of fucking nowhere as well. It's not like we're expecting a big action scene soon or anything like that. It just...
You don't expect anything like that in this show because there hasn't really been any.
Yeah, not like that. Yeah.
Nothing like that.
And Sam Esmail, of course, is knocking it out of the park in terms of directing this season.
Yeah, just killed it.
So that was the second cliffhanger of the episode. There's a lot. We ended with a lot of cliffhangers. Every character almost had like a cliffhanger type thing at the end.
It makes sense because this is pretty much halfway through the season now.
Well, one more is halfway because it's 12. So
there's a 12. I thought it was 11.
Yeah, because both the first and the last are like two parters.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So, although it's scaring me that we're that close to halfway already. I don't want us to be over that.
I know it's
So we'll go to Joanna. We'll leave Elliot for
okay.
for last. Save the lead for the main event. So Joanna's investigating where these packages are coming from and the phone calls. She's got her bodyguard going out and they kill that guy that we seen last week or 2 weeks ago who was like, oh, the FBI are talking to me, blah 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 blah, and all that. Yeah, his death scene was really sort of brutal, and her describing why she wanted him to die that way.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think the line that got me was when she says why, and then at the end of it she says, "Otherwise, we're no more than just petty murderers." It's like she really has like a really high opinion of herself, despite losing all of her status.
Yeah, but again, that's why I linked that to White Rose and his. At least, well, he's murdered at least most of the FBI agents were there, but certainly he was aiming for Dom.
That's the assumption, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's why he specifically spoke to her. That like, I think he sensed that she was like
realized that she's the threat.
Yeah, she's the one poking around and could get to something. So, otherwise, though, Joanna's story ends in a very ambiguous way, very ambiguous cliffhanger.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, because she gets the phone call, no voice on the other end, and she runs out, and we see that ambulance go past, and it's very, very ambiguous. I don't even know what to guess there. I don't even have any sort of inkling as what that could mean.
I don't either. I feel like I think that's intentional because she doesn't know what's going on either.
Oh yeah.
Right, so we're meant to feel like she does. It's like what's actually happening. Which kind of makes it awkward to watch in ways because you don't really understand what's going on.
I'm just like, they're teasing all season until we get to the okay, here's what happened when Elliot went for the gun moment.
It's coming up. I'm calling episode 7.
It's worth pointing out as well. This is the first episode, not counting the second part of the 2-parter because that was essentially one big episode. This is the first episode that didn't start with a flashback pre-season 1.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, actually, technically, I suppose this flashback at the start of the first one was not pre-season 1. But you know what I mean? Like, they've all started with flashbacks up until this point.
Yeah. This one didn't, did it?
This one didn't. But, we had Romero and Thingy, like, get into the place for the first time. We had the birth of Mr. Robot last week.
Yeah, you're right.
This is the first one that's not. However, it did start with Elliot getting back in the game. We got the hacking music returned. We haven't heard.
Yeah, I think this is exactly why we didn't get a flashback because they don't want to leave us waiting any longer. Because we got that moment at the end of last week where he's like, "I'm gonna hack FBI," and it just starts with that straight in.
Yeah. He's doing that. That guy that was beat up like comes by and he whips out a notepad. Again, that's a little slice of life moment. I'm like, hey, I use Notepad.
Yeah, it's one of the things where it feels like how people use people who use computers properly, how they do it.
Yeah, and also he was using Firefox, so it was nice to recognise the browser and it wasn't some made up,
Yeah, it's easy to do. I mean, obviously this show has gone above and beyond for stuff that obviously even like way advanced over our level, that I'm sure is entirely accurate though.
I mean, I'm sure it isn't. Like I imagine like some of the hacking stuff there's a lot of liberty taken just because.
I think there's stuff they don't show us because
they don't want us to know how to do things.
I think everything they do show us, I think, is accurate. Because I know they have a lot of like hacking consultants.
Yeah.
And I think I read at one point he had like in season 1 he had something in the script that one of the consultants told him was inaccurate, so they just changed the entire scene to work around making it more accurate.
That's interesting. Because he, I would hate to be the. You need a consultant because imagine. Like, it's one thing if you're writing a script, right, and you get to, like, a scene in the hospital, and you're, oh, wait, I don't know what the procedure actually is here, like, what would they do here? It's one thing to, like, look that up and, like, fact-check your own script. It's another thing to have something like hacking, where the characters are meant to be experts and, like, doing it constantly.
You have to have, like, someone who really knows what they're doing to explain it to you and help you get that right.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, like, having all this stuff on the screen as he's doing it, like, you'd have a consultant with the... wouldn't be the FX guy, but whoever's like putting in the VT, because obviously it won't actually be him typing. It'll be like video getting played back on the monitor or whatever.
Yeah.
No. So we find out what Ray's actually involved in. We know he had an online business.
We knew it was illegal.
And that's something as soon as he like stepped in, like he was the way he spoke, it was like, okay, he's up to something illegal. He's up to something.
Do you know what the biggest tell for me of how bad it was going to be? The very first episode of Mr. Robot, the very first conversation is about a guy in that cafe, the coffee shop, and it's about a child porn site, right? And that's how the show starts. So it has to have escalated from that at this point.
Do you know, it's funny you say that, because see, as soon as it was like, you have no idea what this site is, or I should say, he typed, you have no idea what this site is, and he's like, how bad is it? And I'm in my head, I'm like, wait a minute, this started with a child like porn site. That was like way back in season 1, and I'm like, so it's either that again, like, or how worse could it be? Like,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, see, that's what I thought. I was like, well, you could do that again because that's pretty fucking bad. But then it's like, that's how the show starts. I mean, that's not enough at this point almost?
And then he sees what's actually on there, and I'm sure child porn is on there because everything seemed to be on there.
It's Craigslist for illegal shit.
Yeah, it was. You know, they had drugs on there, weapons. They had kidnapped like girls from other countries.
Yep.
It was like the worst of the worst, like everything you could possibly imagine.
Anything you can think of that's illegal, you could get it on that site, pretty much, by the look of it.
Yeah, and
you could hire a hitman.
You could hire a hitman, and this is one of the things I was really intrigued by when we got here. Is Elliot immediately was like, and this was like a return of season 1 Elliot, not just because he was hacking, but because he immediately was like, I need to do something about this. I need to take these guys. And Mr. Robot's in his ear, and he's like, no, we've got something to focus on. We've got the FBI and Angela to deal with. We need to do all that. And he's like, he just can't let it go. He
has such a moral conscience, really, which is weird because you don't think of it like that when you watch the show. But he does.
I think he has to. I think if our main character was okay with this going on, we would.
Well, no. Obviously, that he can't be okay with it, but he's got a really strong moral conscience where he has to drop everything and stop this, rather than just not being okay with it.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning as well. I'm pretty sure Ray was always dressed in light colours until after the scene where Elliot spoke about him maybe leading a double life. Again, linking to all the themes of the episode and White Rose and all that. And I think the scene after that is the first time we've seen him wear black.
Is this right at the end?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Where he comes out of the van?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's really intimidating.
He is.
Yeah, and it ends with Elliot getting the shit beat out of him, and oh dear, we're in trouble.
It was... another thing that convinced me of the prison or mental hospital theory is, where they come to drag him out of the bed. It looks very much like how you know when you see on in movies where they're dragging screaming patients in like a mental institution out of the bed. It looked very reminiscent of those shots.
Yeah. Do we still think Ray's like works there as a guard or something, or someone who has an office there? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to have a double life. He's got to have a cover. I mean, he doesn't have to, but if he's got all this access, and they just call the old guy RT just the old IT guy. So it's like he worked there as well, I think, is the idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that.
But no, I think we hit all the major points of the episode.
We didn't do Darlene.
Did she have much of a separate thing?
She
was merely just an Angela story, was she not? Well, I suppose she came and speak to Elliot about Angela.
Yeah, that scene I thought was really interesting though. Because, I mean, again, her and Angela are the only ones who sat with it sideways rather than end to end.
Because they're friends and family, rather than Gideon, who is...
across the table.
Yeah, more of an acquaintance.
I think that was really interesting. Just the positioning shows us so much there. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, it was the mother comment, like the she-devil. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's it's funny because we said at the start of the season when we were talking about all this that we weren't sure how long it was going to last until they dropped the reveal on us, and I thought it'd be done by now, honestly.
See, the thing is now I feel like it's so obvious that it doesn't matter when they do it because Elliot still hasn't been seen in a different location.
I get that. I absolutely get that. I think, though, for me, one thing this episode really reminded me of, because he spoke to both Darlene and Angela, and I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to, not that I'm not enjoying what's going on right now, is his interaction with other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm starting to really sort of long for that a little bit. So...
I think I might know what could happen here. He's going to come clean to us and tell us what's happened and where he is, but Ray is going to stop him from leaving, and so he's going to be fighting to get out.
Maybe, yeah.
And maybe I'm completely off there, but that's where I could see it going.
You think something will convince him that he needs to trust us again?
Yeah, like desperation of like he just needs to talk through it and figure out a plan to get out again because Ray's keeping him in. Because obviously shit's just gone down, but he needs to get out and help the others.
It's all very interesting. But no, it was a really good episode.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, season's really progressively mostly getting better as it goes. And that's not that it started weak at all. It's just, you know...
There was a worry before this season started that was this a one-hit wonder for that first season. But nope. No, it wasn't.
It's not. It's a fantastic episode, guys. So, looking forward to next week, which is the next time Connor will be doing a review with us, because Connor's moving house, so he's going to miss everything else for the next 6 days.
Scared. I've got to live with that internet. I'm voluntarily doing what Elliot's doing and closing myself off to the world.
You'll be eating your vomit by Saturday.
I'm sure I will.
Alright, that's Mr. Robot episode 5 of season 2. So let us know what you thought in the comments below. Thoughts, theories, what did you think of my alternate timeline idea? And, you know, everything that's happened with Elliot, where do you think that's all going? Let us know, we always love to hear it. But yeah, guys, like and subscribe, all that jazz, helps us out a lot. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.